was just wrapping up some notes. Yeah, this is a great time. Is it a good time for you still to chat about your New Year's plans or plans for this year? Yeah, I get it. We are all on our own timeline, and I think that really you can start whenever you're ready to do something, right? Yeah, any time is a good time. And I think having this session where we can bounce ideas around, get to the priorities that matter to you, I think it's going to be really productive and give you maybe some peace of mind. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, feel free to get comfortable. I see you brought your favorite coffee beverage, so get comfortable. We're going to really be chatting together about what you would love to achieve or work on. I think a lot of it's about just working on ourselves. It's not really the destination, right? It's the journey. Yeah. So we're going to make sure the journey is as pleasant as possible. And that is my job, to support you in that journey as your personal assistant. Okay. So really, you have extra support along the way. Right. I know. You're very lucky to have me. Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe we could just start off really simple with just some questions, just to get the mind going, get the thoughts going, so we can kind of make defining choices later on. Oh yeah, I really don't mind doing this. It's one of my favorite things, and I mean, I am such a journal list type A person, as you can see. And so I do love supporting you in this and helping you navigate using my skill set, if you will. Okay. So let's start with a few questions. I'm just going to type these notes out because I feel like I can share them with you easier, if that's okay. And then we'll probably hop into some notes and a little bit of materials I brought today and I brought some materials today that I want to share with you as well. And then I'll probably open up the planner and get some actual next steps written down for us. Because while we can write down everything we want to achieve or work on, if we don't make time for it, it may not happen. So that is going to be an important part as well. Yeah. Okay. So let's start. Okay. Let's start with the first question, which is, what do you want more of this year? And just kind of whatever comes to mind, what do you want more out of this year, if you could have it? Okay. Peace. Having fun. Being present. These are really great. Focused. Okay. More like strategic. Okay. With your time. Fostering relationships. But not burnout. Okay, that's kind of getting into the next question. Yeah, so let's maybe dive into that one. Okay. What do you want less of this year? Okay, burnout. Okay. want more energy, maybe. Yeah. Distraction. Scrolling. Yep. We are all really, I mean, not all of us, but most of us can really relate to the doom scroll, if you will. Yeah, those are all really important things, and you are not alone. And I think a lot of those things we all want for ourselves or want less of. Yeah. Okay. So the next question is, what would make this year feel successful, even in small ways? Okay. That regular routine. Healthy habits. Can you speak to maybe some of that are on your mind, those healthy habits? More movement. Okay. Yeah, that's a common one. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea a lot. Okay. Okay, so this next question is, how do you want your days to feel when you wake up? Okay. I understand that. Yeah, I can see how, as opposed to maybe previous periods of life, maybe you're looking to want to wake up each day with some kind of structure, but a little bit of flexibility for, those curveballs. I think that's a really important thing we tend to forget is life happens. Life finds a way, and it's going to give you scenarios or opportunities, again, maybe obstacles that change your course a little bit or kind of make it harder to get back on track, so to speak. But I would say that it's not inhibiting you, it's challenging you to find your center and find ways to return to that time and time and again as you navigate, right? And I believe that you can do that for sure. But I do think it's realistic to expect that things are gonna, happen that we don't expect, good or bad. And if we can allow less pressure to have perfection over those days where we think we need to achieve everything, if something happens, I think we can move through those obstacles and challenges probably a lot easier, knowing that you can always go back to it. Yeah, you can always return to your center, return to the things that once served you, or maybe they don't serve you anymore and you have to find some new things, which is totally normal. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it is mindset, yeah, which is, it is a lot of mindset, and then also a lot of it is not. So, yeah. Okay, so flexible, adaptable, not so much pressure. Okay. Perfect. Loving all of that. And this kind of dives into my next little, section material that I brought that I think is really going to be helpful. So I'm going to just move this for a brief minute and pull out my handy dandy binder. Alright. So don't judge me, but I did get this binder from like the school kids section from Target a few years ago. They're just so cute. Like everything is really my vibe, and I do feel that younger me is proud of still loving these colors and fun stationery. Anyways, my binder today has some really fun papers that I've collected, and one of them I would really love to share. So let me see if I can find it. Okay, see if I can find it. It's a little bit flippy, so I'm just going to see. See where I put it. Okay, it's not here. Let's see, it might be further down. I realized. Okay. Okay, I think this is it. Okay. Okay, I think this is what I'm looking for. Okay, I think this would be helpful as well. So, I think that is good. Okay, I think we found what we needed, so I will go ahead and put my binder away. Okay. And we're using the fun pen today. Okay, so yeah, I know it's a lot, but just stick with me, okay? It makes everything more whimsical in my mind. So, this is a worksheet I collected when I really needed support, and I feel like it just really applies to everyone. So this is a worksheet that talks about self-care tips, but it's also really about building the healthy mind platter for like a really efficient, but not efficient in the way of like you are only meant to ever produce and that is your meaning and purpose. It's meant to be efficient for your own well-being and what makes you feel whole, you know, because that's kind of I think that's kind of the point at the end of the day. You are not worthy to exist just because you exude and produce things for the world. You are able to live life meaningfully in a variety of ways, and that might not mean producing as much or filling your time with just doing things. So this is the Healthy Mind platter, and it even provides a breakdown of the platter areas and how you can touch on each area throughout the week if you build out your own schedule, which I think this will be really helpful for you, right? So, yeah. So, first off, self-care tips. So, when you are feeling burnout, depression, grief, which come and go in different points in our life and also seasons of the year, I feel. It can sneak up on you before you know it. So trying to force balance between work, home or whatever can actually add to your stress that you're feeling, and it can reduce satisfaction for your life. So instead, this worksheet suggests finding areas of personal meaning and being intentional about creating avenues to express those areas, because it's a much stronger way to develop resilience, and it can lower stress and improve, life satisfaction even when life is hard, right? So it has a few self-care tips. I don't think it's like all, inclusive of everything to ever be known, but some of these really are core ones. So for example, eat, drink, bathe, take care of your physical body, eat something, drink a glass of water, take a shower, really basic needs. Sleep, we really, really need sleep. And that is definitely important. And if you are unable to achieve like 7 to 8 hours a night, take some power naps. Give yourself 20 minutes to just take a quick nap. Try to care for yourself before you go to sleep. So avoid any caffeine or looking at your phone. Sleep actually starts before we fall asleep, I think. So take care of your sleep, because all of this helps you feel energetic at the end of the day, and you will feel more likely to be able to do the things you want to do if you're taking care of these basic needs. Exercise, any movement is good movement, really, wherever you're at. Not everyone needs to be a bodybuilder, but everyone, I do think, benefits from some movement if you're able to do that. And of course, every body is different, but the great thing about movement is that there are a variety of exercises for anyone in any phase, even if it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, a quick walk. Just get moving, because really your body does love movement to some level. Small talk, give yourself permission to have fun and to talk about fun. Maybe set some boundaries around work or other areas of your life that just add more pressure. Like, just give yourself permission to talk about other subjects when you are not feeling like you want to constantly be talking about heavier things. Don't work all the time. Remember that you need connecting time, downtime, playtime, and also screen-free time. So, yeah, I know it can feel like we're having fun on our phones, but it actually ends up sort of harming us over time, or if, too much of it. When you must work, have a community. So, not just the day job, which some of us love, some of us don't. It really depends on the situation. For you, maybe that means a little less career if you're feeling a little burnout, and maybe more outside projects or groups that don't require, as much energy. So maybe you join a reading group or a book club or a running group, or a group that just hangs out at the farmer's market or takes a walk in the park. There are so many groups out there for different interests, and they're low pressure and don't require much of you. So it builds community, gets you involved, and avoids you feeling isolated, because you're making connections with people based on similar interests, which is great. I personally love the app Meetup for finding some groups. It is really helpful and allows you to find something really close by, and literally every interest is pretty much represented. If not there, on other places online, you can find in-person groups locally. Have a non-work community as well. Maybe that's volunteering, maybe that's activism, or other types of work or other types of groups where you can connect maybe not involving some kind of like project or, what have you. Self-talk and time in. Be kind to yourself. Think in terms of what is helpful rather than good, right, or best. I also like to use this mindset trick of how can I neutralize something, because often I'll feel very positive or feel very negative about something, but really, realistically, a lot of things you can look at more neutrally. Obviously, if you're feeling really sad over something, of course that's valid, but a lot of the times, a lot of little things you can look at neutrally and be like, okay, there's this, but there's also this. And it's neither like really overly positive or really overly negative. You're just kind of looking at it factually or neutrally, which is really helpful. So those are just some core tips, and they play into the healthy mind. So the healthy mind platter includes focus time. So this is when we closely focus on tasks and in a goal-oriented way. We take on challenges that might make deep connection in the brain. Playtime, where we allow ourselves to be spontaneous or creative and enjoy new experiences. Connecting time, when we connect with other people, ideally in person, and when we take time to appreciate our connection to the natural world around us, we activate and reinforce the brain's relational circuitry. Physical time, when we move our bodies aerobically, if medically possible, we strengthen the brain in many ways when it comes to physical time. Time in is when we quietly reflect internally, focusing on sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. We help to better integrate the brain. Downtime is when we are non-focused, without any specific goal, and let our mind wander or simply relax. We help the brain recharge. A lot of that can be like meditation. Sleep time, when we give the brain the rest it needs, we consolidate learning and recover from the experiences of the day. So that is the healthy mind platter. Again, it includes focus time, playtime, connecting time, physical time, time in, downtime, and sleep time. And you're probably I already know, doing all of those in some capacity. And I will say, it's likely that you may not get to each and every one perfectly every day, but maybe it's easier than you think, right? So in this column here, the list of the different times, so like connecting time, focus time, and then Monday through Sunday. So really you're listing activities under each day that follow those different times. So every Monday you are going to a book club, and so that probably helps with connecting time because you're meeting people in person. Or maybe every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you go to Pilates or the gym, or you just take a walk outside. That's physical time. And of course, like every day, again, we would love to touch each and every area. But I think my rule of thumb, my personal recommendation, is do as much as you realistically can, and you're more likely to be consistent. And then you can also improve. So let's say you can really only dedicate 2 times a week to, reading a book, a little bit of a book, 2 times a week. But you would love to read, most days. Well, maybe over time you'll get to read every day, or maybe there'll be weeks where you just only do it 2 times, and that's okay. I think that there is so much to be said for people who do something literally every day. But what happens when something happens, right? Like, what if you get sick? What if your car breaks down? It's great that you want to do something every single day consistently, but I do think that in some ways that can kind of make it difficult to be consistent with that thing over time because you're doing it so much that at some point you don't even want to do it anymore. Or maybe it's an activity that actually is great every day, like writing or journaling every day. I know some people who write literally journal every single day, even if it's a few sentences, but that's the name of the game there is don't put too many high expectations on yourself. And I think you're more likely to achieve that thing consistently. So it really is about setting realistic expectations here. So maybe you can sit with this later, go through each area and think about ways you can achieve these different areas, the healthy mind platter, throughout the week, and not feel pressure to try and do every little thing. Every day is going to be different. And then I know you mentioned having fun is really important to you this year, and these are a list of activities, front and back, that offer a lot of ideas. So, whether that's going to a movie, having a day where you literally do nothing, or just be spontaneous is fun. Maybe going swimming, maybe doing some arts and crafts, maybe going to a party, or doing a hobby. There's just like a ton of different ideas it offers, so it could jog your memory or give you ideas for things that you truly can just enjoy. Because that's part of the human experience, is you can enjoy your life, You have the permission to do so. You don't need permission, which is the irony of that, but okay. So I'll let you take these, okay? And then you can just, if you want to go over anything later with me, just let me know. And we can work it into your schedule. Yeah. Alright. So next up, oh my goodness, I'm matching. Literally had no idea. Next up, I have some materials to continue to help you explore what we go over today. So even though we are going to be chatting through some goals, I do think this will be super supportive in you continuing to evaluate these goals or understand what's important to you. You can literally change your mind if you want to, like just because you decide something today doesn't mean it's set in stone. This is the Artist of Life workbook, which I really enjoy as a workbook that you can evaluate really your life, not just your year. There are so many great worksheets, and it's by the creator Lavender, who I love, and there are just great worksheets on, your mindset, goals, and it goes through each area like health, relationships, money, any bucket list items you want to do, and it really is very psychological. It helps you really look at your life in all aspects, kind of like the healthy mind platter, but it's like a workbook version where you really dive in deep, and then you can each month break down your goals and sort of break things down weekly, but not in like a super overwhelming way. But it depends on you, and sometimes I felt like this would be overwhelming, but that was because I personally put too many goals on my plate that I did not really, there was just too much pressure and they were unrealistic. I'll put it that way. So I think if you're realistic and you don't have as much pressure, this can really be helpful in terms of the planner section of the workbook. But the first half of it is really workbook pages, which I think are useful. So I highly recommend going through and filling it out and letting me know how I can support your calendar and your day-to-day. How we can squeeze these important things in. So I'll leave this workbook with you as well. Okay. Alright, we've returned to our notes here. And I do think that as we've been chatting, you're feeling like you might have some ideas, right? We can totally change our mind later. So I think for now, let's just jot something down and see where it lands. Okay. So this first step, I feel, of course, is going to be a great important step, which is everything. So everything we've just gone over, I think, is a lot of like the prep work and like if you want to make a vision board and all of that, I think can be really inspiring, but now we need to kind of like narrow things down, right? And like get to the reality of the situation. So step one, let's choose our goal, or of course, let's have you choose your goals. I am moral support. So I want you to choose 1 to 3 meaningful goals for the year. And the reason I think you should keep it low is because the more you add, really the more pressure you're putting on yourself, and you're probably going to burn out. So you really have to be really realistic. My thing is you can always add more to your plate later if you really want to, but maybe it's worth being really dedicated to a few things first to see how that goes. And honestly, some things take a lot of dedication, especially when you have other things going on in life like family or work or health issues. Unfortunately, sometimes our time really is taken up, so let's be mindful of how much time you really have in your day, your week, your year to really dedicate to some of these things. Yeah. So, what 1 to 3 goals, or what are the biggest goals that you feel like would make a difference in your life right now, or that have just been really on your mind? Okay. Right. Okay. Those are amazing. Yeah. And I think they're all very doable, because what is coming to mind for me when you communicate those things is they're more like lifestyle habits, and I like that you phrased them those ways, because one important thing we need to remember with goals is that it has to be within our control. The word goal is a broad, it's broadly used, right? So you may have a goal of being published one day, or you may have a goal of running a marathon, or you may have a goal of making a certain amount of money. However, a lot of those goals, as lofty as we make them, they can actually be really outside of our control, especially within a given time period. Some things take less or more time. So, for example, with a marathon, if you haven't been running very much at all, that goal of running a marathon might be a little further away, and so you have to realistically think about what gets me there. What are the steps to that? And maybe that doesn't mean this year you run a marathon. Maybe it's this year I learned to build a good running, habit. I have a good consistent running routine that then I'll be able to sign up for a marathon and survive it. So hopefully that makes sense, because I do think sometimes we put goals on ourselves that are like a lot of pressure, and like expectation is here, but we don't meet that expectation, so we end up failing, and then it's devastating. So really we have to be like, yes, I'd love to be here, but I'm over here, and I think the most realistic thing I can do is go here. And so by having the goal here, it's much more manageable. And eventually the trajectory leads you towards this goal, right? Movement, that momentum moves you closer than if you did nothing or you saw that you failed and then gave up. So yeah, really every small step does count. So I love that. What you communicated sounded more like lifestyle habits, that I could see you doing some of those really fun milestones down the road or reaching those. So which of those goals do you feel like are highest to lowest priority? So which goal out of those you mentioned is the absolute most important one to you? And I know they're all important, but you're going to have to choose the most important one, because that will be and usually that's the way I see it, is the one that bothers you the most, the one that sort of nags you a lot in your head and just bothers you that you don't work on, is probably the most important to you, and it's worth investigating that and being curious. Okay. No, absolutely. I can totally see that. And you probably will feel so much relief when you do these small steps towards this most important goal. And by prioritizing, there's less pressure to really hold yourself to a certain standard with the other things, if that makes sense. Yeah. So what would be the second and third? Okay. Yeah, again, they're all important to you. The prioritization is just to help you recenter when you feel maybe overwhelmed or unclear about your direction. Yeah. Okay. And also, when we look at your week, it informs us what thing you will be spending more of your time doing, ideally in that week. Again, every week might be different, but it's something that you'll continue to work on most consistently compared to other things. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm just going to take a few more notes here. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and break down each of those goals. Maybe just for now, it doesn't need to be in any particular order, but if you could just mention out loud what steps you think for each goal you would need to do to achieve that goal. And again, it doesn't need to be in order, like, oh, I need to do this and then this and then this. It could just be whatever comes to mind, and we can organize it later. Yeah. Okay. So goal number 1. What are some steps? Okay. Now those are all great things. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And what about goal number 2? What are some steps it will take to meet that goal? do think that it's important that you're thinking about things you can do right now with the resources you have, because I do think that we shouldn't feel pressure to go out and buy a ton of things to help meet our goal, but we can critically think about what materials help us feel inspired to do our goal or meet that goal. So for example, if you want to add more exercise in your day-to-day, it may not be realistic to go out and buy a very expensive membership right now because you're not very consistent. So maybe that's doing home workouts because it's easily accessible and you're putting on whatever clothes you have around to work out in. And then eventually maybe you'll buy nicer workout clothes or invest in a membership or get a trainer. You don't need those things technically. It's all about what is the way you're going to get to that thing. And maybe you do need to buy certain equipment like a treadmill or weights to support you, but you don't necessarily need a lot to do the things you want to do. And I do think that we are very resourceful and creative in that way. So I highly recommend trying to go the cheaper route and then build up to investing in things as you go on. Yeah. Okay. Goal number 3. Okay. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're making up the rules here, right? Like we can make up our own rules a lot of the time about how we get to do and achieve something. So I like that you're getting creative with your ideas of these small steps that we can take. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I wrote down all the notes I need. Let's move into planning out your first week. How do we feel about that? I know it's a little daunting, but I promise it's not as scary. So let's do this together. Okay. Let's go to the month. Right. With my crystals. Okay. So we are going to plan out your week. So first off, I like to always, you know me, go through what's non-negotiable, what's not really able to move. So that's appointments, those are commitments you have, things that are really not something you can easily move from your calendar unless you had to cancel it. So looking at your upcoming week, I know you have a doctor's appointment on Thursday morning. That's 8 a.m. Yeah. Okay. So that is then. And then obviously your work days, you have certain appointments. So as far as meetings, I want to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have a couple meetings in the morning, but Wednesday it looks pretty busy. Like you have meetings in the afternoon as well. Okay, so okay. You have I think an event coming up this Friday. Yeah, that's 8 p.m. So we gotta make that note. Your weekend, I know you're getting brunch with your family for a birthday, I believe. Okay, so you may need to get a gift for that still. Okay, and I can write that down on my list. Birthday. Yes, I can send you some ideas. How does that sound? Okay. Okay, perfect. I do think we need to pick up something from the vet, but that can be on my list, so I'm not going to put that on your list. So I'll just make a note for that as well. Okay, I'll leave a reminder for you. Sunday, I think, is free. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, you do. Okay. So you have a dinner on Tuesday with a friend. Okay. And do you need me to make that reservation? Okay. I can do that for you. Is 7? Okay. Alright, so as it stands now, those are kind of the immovable things. So let's maybe think about your goals, okay? And how we can incorporate them most days of the week. It doesn't have to be every day, but most days. That's my motto. If it's most days, it's good enough. Okay, so the first goal is something you want to do a few times a week, I'm guessing. How many times per week would you say you would feel good if you got to work on this item this week, given these other events going on? You would like 4, but you feel like 3 times. Okay. So, as it stands, I feel like Wednesday evening, Thursday evening, and maybe Saturday evening. What are you thinking? You could do Monday, right? But Monday is, getting back into work. Are you going to want to do anything that night? Are you going to have the energy? Yeah. Okay. What about Friday morning? I do feel like your Friday mornings are a little easier. Yeah, you could get up earlier. Okay. So let's do that in the evening on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning. Do you feel like that's gonna be okay? Okay. You feel like that'll be good. Okay. Now, the next goal. How many times in the week do you feel like you would want to get to that item? Okay, you want to get that. You see yourself doing that a little bit more frequently, but it's because it's not that much brain power. Okay, fair enough. So let's say 4. So let's say at least 4 times. Okay, maybe you'll do more, which is great. I could see you doing that Monday morning because it's not very energetic. It's supposed to give you energy, so it could really help you. Yeah, and set the tone for your week. Okay, so Monday morning. Okay. How about maybe Tuesday morning looks open? Okay. do have a doctor's appointment Thursday morning, but you could do it in the afternoon. Yeah. Okay. We could work that out. Yeah. And then Sunday. Okay, Sunday morning. That sounds perfect. Look at that. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 opportunities to get to that goal, and it won't require as much time as the other goal. So I think that's really well spread out. It feels doable. Okay, and then the last goal. How are we feeling about that? So you want to make that more daily if you can help it. Okay. Maybe that is maybe 5 times, and you could really, because it's such a small thing, it can vary day to day. So maybe one day you're doing something specific, and then the next day you try something else, but they both help that goal. And again, it doesn't take that much time. Okay. So you want to do it, you like mornings and evenings for that? Okay, how about we stack it then with one of the other goals? I think that could be helpful, because then you're kind of, knocking out, what's the phrase, one bird with 2 stones, or 2 birds with 1 stone. I think that's what it is. Okay, so Monday morning we do that one as well, and Tuesday. And you want to do it in the evening of Wednesday. Okay. Oh, so like Monday through Friday. Yeah, I think you could try it out. I feel like Thursday might be a little tough. Yeah, I just feel like that might be a lot for you. Okay, yeah. How about you do it Saturday evening? Saturday evening, okay. And then maybe Sunday. Okay. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. We did it. That way you don't feel guilty if you don't meet certain goals on certain days, because you've already given it time on another day, right? Or you can always shift things around. That's what I'm here for. So if you want to swap things around, or if you have to move something, I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I want to make sure we have time, but do you have anything you would need in order to get moving on some of these things? Like, do you need me to pick up anything or prep for anything? Okay, you want to do that. Okay. You might need me to book a class or 2. Okay, we can do that. Perfect. Yeah, I can send you the times for the classes based on the areas of time you want to do them. Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything that feels like it might be a barrier or a challenge? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I can always send you some notification reminders. That way, they're just kind of like helpful reminders. Yeah, I can definitely do that. And this is a sort of a drastic measure. I know some people download apps and things like that they even pay for to block their phone, so you're not like scrolling your phone. But there is a setting already on your phone that turns off or just makes the apps grayed out for certain times of the day, so we could do that just to see how it works. Or we can remove the apps from your phone, and then you can only access them on like an iPad or maybe a different device, or just move them somewhere where you're not easily clicking them. That's another option. we want to prepare for our distractions and barriers as much as possible, because they will happen and they will come up, and you need to find a way to manage them. I feel like a fairy godmother with my pom-pom. I'm here to help you, of course, yeah. But obviously I'm not with you 24/7. I know that you wish I was, but sometimes we just need our tool belt to remember when we're faced with a situation, pull out the tools and resources to help us. Yeah. And if we don't meet a goal, that's okay. It just means we can try again the next day, and we can absolutely overcome those obstacles and challenges. All right. I think I have my little list here. We helped plan your week. So this way. And I'm going to put this back. But I think that we have concluded our session. I've gone over so much. I'm sure you're still processing, but what I want you to do is just relax and remember that these are things that you enjoy and that give you meaning and purpose. And also it's okay to do things that make you feel whole and rest, and remember that they all serve each other as well. So take this time to rest, reflect, and let everything soak in. And if you want to still think about some of these things a bit more in depth, you can create a vision board. I like to do it on Pinterest. Sometimes just saving photos that align with your goals. And I know we didn't have time to cover this yet, but I think having a bucket list of fun things this year would be great for you to include, where, traveling or fun experiences. So maybe come up with a list of fun things you want to do, but wouldn't mind, not getting to, right? Yeah, so thanks so much for meeting with me. I hope this was helpful. Yes, absolutely. I will send you all my notes, and thank you so much again. Yeah, I'll connect with you a little later, and I hope you enjoy.